Hello, BookTube, and welcome back to June on the Range, one of many BookTube events that I'm participating in the month of June. This is an event, of course, created by Michael K. Vaughan to celebrate Westerns, to celebrate Western novels and Western short stories, maybe even a little bit of Western nonfiction. And it's one of three BookTube things that I am doing for June, in primarily three. And that roster will change throughout the months of the summer, but I'm thinking the number will stay at three for most of the summer, maybe four in July. But the three that I'm doing are June on the Range, Book Trek, in which we celebrate Star Trek fiction, and Summer of Sport, where we celebrate sports writing, either fiction or nonfiction. And it has been my assumption that in my reading nights, I would just add something from each of those events to the night's reading, since none of the books are very long. Then I can add them on without doing much damage to the reading that I'm going to do. And last night that was going to be my plan, and it turned out that wasn't possible. It turned out that other readings started crowding out BookTube events. And once I realized that that was the case, once I saw that that was going to happen, I had to do a little bit of event triage. And the event that won out was June on the Range, because it's only June. Summer Sport, therefore, and Book Trek are going to have to wait a day. I'm offering this by way of a quasi apology to you regular viewers of this channel, even though I know it's ridiculous. I know it's absolutely ridiculous. No other host of any of these events is thinking about doing one video a day. I still feel like I owe you an apology. So I only have a Western to talk about in my BookTube events today, June on the Range, because last night I read this, John Marshall and the Heroic Age of the Supreme Court. Oh my God, I just recently found this in a little free library. As you can see, it's been beaten all to hell and gone. I cleaned it up. I cleaned the schmutz off it with a little alcohol wipe. I straightened out the dust jacket from where all the areas where it was badly wrinkled. I used a little bit of tape behind the dust jacket to reinforce those so it would hold up. I put a plastic covering on it. I have seen this book referenced in so many legal histories that I have read that I have always wanted to have a copy of my own, and I fell into reading this last night. I read it and loved it. Oh my God, it's so good. It's so, well, I don't mean in any kind of stupid pun, but it's so judicious. It's such a wonderfully eloquent book. That I just loved it. And it's not small, so I fell into reading it. And when I was done with it, I thought, well, surely now it's time for palate cleansers, for some BookTube events. But I reread this instead. This is the one-volume paperback of the Mike Mignola adaptation of Francis Ford Coppola's Bram Stoker's Dracula. So this was a 4-issue miniseries where Mike Mignola, who went on to fame as the creator of Hellboy, did the artwork for this series, and it's incredible. It's just amazingly good. So I flew through this and read it again. I don't know how many times I've read these issues, and then rather than go to BookTube, much neglected by this time, I read a new release, and I read a new release that I under no circumstances should have read. It's not coming out until September. But I read it anyway. Oh my God, I could not resist. It's Lionhearts. It's the third and final volume in Dan Jones's Essex Dogs trilogy. This is a historical fiction set centuries ago, in the time that Dan Jones has actually studied as a historian. But here he writes fiction and allows himself to just cut loose from the restrictions of being a historian. He learned, or he knew ahead of time, what other historians who write historical fiction, like Carol E. Erickson or Alison Weir, have not learned, which is that when you change registers from nonfiction to fiction, you should bloody well change registers. You should embrace that. Dan Jones does, to put it mildly. Oh my God, to put it mildly. Essex Dogs, the first book of the series, is just amazing. It's just a wonderful action he-boy ramp of a story. And the second book in the series is the same way. The third book, each one of the books in this trilogy embraces a kind of woolly old plot structure. In the first book, it's Band of Brothers. In the second book, it's the corruption of Band of Brothers. And in Lionhearts, it's getting the band back together. This takes place years later. The Black Death has devastated Europe and scattered our old comrades to the four corners of the world. All of their fortunes are in one way marked, no pun intended, by the Black Death. And most especially our main character, Loveday, who's the most affected in every way. And this is Loveday's business has been ruined by the Black Death, as most people's have been. The whole world was upended by that pandemic. And he's wondering in the beginning, as this book opens, he's wondering if one misfortune piled on top of another might force him back to selling his sword as a mercenary, which is a life he does not want to return to. And it ends up, the book, it gains momentum as you touch in on all these old characters and get the band back together, get all of them back together in one place. A lot of the beach balls that Dan Jones has kept bouncing in the air for 2 books are marvelously landed here. Oh my God, I loved it so much. I could not resist. And that crowded out BookTube events completely, almost completely. I did read a Western. And I want to talk to you about that today in this video. I read a Western here. Let me get the visuals for it because I've got the iPad right here. I read this, The Return of the Kid by Joseph Wayne, which was fairly a little pokey, a little bit by the numbers. Good, very good. It's very much the sense of someone saying, I've got a story I want to tell you, rather than someone wanting to blow you through the back wall of the theater. And that storytelling rhythm struck me as familiar. I thought I recognized this. Somehow I recognized this, probably because I've read a lot of Western authors in the course of many Junes on the Range. And I said that in a video. I thought nothing more of it. I was going to go on to other things. And a number of you emailed me, helpfully pointing out that Wayne Joseph is a pseudonym for Wayne Overholser, who I have read. I think that's probably what I was thinking of, that was striking me as similar, or maybe it was just coincidence. But a number of you wrote that in the wonderful way that we largely have in this corner BookTube, where we're just talking to each other, where there's no scoring points or moral superiority or anything like that. It's just, we're just talking to each other and maybe filling in blanks for each other. I love that. All of you who wrote, thank you very much for just getting that tone. We're so spoiled. I swear, in this little corner of BookTube, we are so spoiled. We send presents to each other. We get presents from each other. We talk to each other about, I think you missed this, or, I think you might be wrong about this. I get that all the time in my interpretation of the latest chapter of The Claverlings or whatever. Only done in exactly the right way, where, what do you think? I think this, what do you think? Wonderful. I'll make a separate video singing BookTube's praises. Lord knows I've done it plenty of times. But a number of you informed me that book was by Wayne Overholser and that you liked him. Every person that pointed out Wayne Overholser's real name also said they liked his works. So I read a Wayne Overholser. I read a Western last night called Bitter Wind by Wayne Overholser. No idea, if he had... actually, I think one of you mentioned that he had a co-writer for The Return of the Kid. And this is just him. And... Hi, baby. What you doing? You want to get down here? Come on down. There you go. This very much had that same kind of narrative energy to it, or lack thereof. It should not have felt as sedentary as it did, considering how much happens in it. It's the story of a man named Bill Lang, who shoots the wrong person over a card table. He shoots a Flynn boy, because he thought he had no choice. You're cheating. You're going to draw your gun on me. I'm faster than you are. And he is informed by the astonished onlookers that was the wrong person to kill. Not because we like cheats in this neighborhood, but because he's one of the extended Flynn family, and they aren't going to listen to reason. They aren't going to obey the law. They aren't going to swear out a warrant or anything like that. They're going to work ceaselessly to kill you. Now, I encountered a book like that in last year's June on the Range, where one character offended a whole family and had to kill the whole family to get out from under the weight of their vengeance. And I thought maybe I would encounter that here too. But Bill Lang is basically rescued from the vengeance of the Flynns, at least for a large chunk of the book, by a man named Jake Murdoch, who takes him in, tends his wounds, talks with him, wants something from him. Jake Murdoch is not a good Samaritan. He's not a white knight. He has a whole bunch of plans of his own. And he has a an arrangement, a marriage with a half-native woman named Ellie. Only Ellie and Bill Lang start to feel things for each other, and that complicates Jake Murdoch's plan, which is both to save this man and also to use this man. And hovering around the edges of the whole story the whole time are the Flynn clan. It's the Flynn clan and the vengeance that they want. And you would think from all those elements, and that's just that's just the tip of the iceberg. Wayne Overhoser throws in a lot of stuff at the halfway point of this book to add to things, and none of it is wrong. None of it is ill-judged. All of it is given its due on the page. I liked it. I liked it the same as I liked The Return of the Kid. It very much felt like someone on a porch looking out over the grasslands and then the Rockies. On the back porch of their house that they own free and clear, and saying, why don't you sit here and I'll tell you a story. I've had friends, I've been in that situation, I've had friends do that, and I've always wanted to say, is there any chance you could tell me the story when we're not within running range of a grizzly bear? But no, no, that never was the case. I very much got that feeling here. This is, I don't want to say relaxed. I don't want to say it's a relaxed narrative, although after this, yeah, this is a relaxed narrative. They're both pieces of historical fiction. Relaxed is wrong, because plenty of things happen in this book, and they happen right from the beginning. There are plenty of even what I'm sure the author would consider twists in the plot. I enjoyed this very much, but boy, oh boy, I don't know if I remember this might be my reaction the first time I encountered Wayne Overholser. I would never have read this author, but for June on the Range. But I was in no hurry to return to this author. No hurry at all. I might get to him. I'm sure I'll enjoy it if I did. I enjoyed Bitter Wind. But I was in no hurry to get back to his idea of storytelling. Not because it's bad, but because I want a little more giddy up and go in my June on the Range. So, since I was turned on to Wayne Overholser by all of you, I was pointed in his direction as the author, the true author, at least one of them, of The Return of the Kid. I appeal to you again. You Wayne Overholser fans are, has he written something else that I might like more? Feel free to let me know. But as it is, that's the only BookTube event that I have to report on this time around. And it's not a lackluster report, not at all. But I wasn't blown away. So Bitter Wind is, it's good. It's good as a Western. I don't know, maybe I'm being unrealistic, because good is about all you can hope for in genre fiction of any kind. It's just that I just read this. I'll talk more about this. It comes out in September. I'll talk more about it later on down the line. I'm sure plenty I will. But in the meantime, that's my June on the Range report. Bitter Wind by Wayne Overholser, who was actually the true author, or one of them, of The Return of the Kid. So now I have fresh pastures to move on to. Other writers. So I'll wrap this up for now, and I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.